it is potential area of question. This, so let's write all this. State emergency. State emergency is also known as President's Rule. State emergency is also known as President's Rule, which is invoked by President. Which is invoked by President if President is satisfied. President is satisfied that the business of the state cannot be carried out. Business of the state cannot be carried out in accordance with provisions of the Constitution. Provisions of the Constitution. B.R. Ambedkar considered that Article 356 would remain. Article 356 would remain a dead letter. A dead letter. A dead letter, but it has become the most controversial letter of Constitution. But it has become the most controversial letter of the Constitution. Constitution. So you should know that it says if president is satisfied. This is how it is. Yes. And this satisfaction cannot be questioned by court. If you read details of this satisfaction cannot be. Court. Now, how he is satisfied? Either through the report of governor. So governor role is also linked. Yes. And you know how governors behave. Right. If they will not give report, right, then they will be asked to report. Right. This. So that is that. So which will talk governor, so you will understand better, link it, how it happens. Now justification can be given if there is any. So union is ordained to protect states also as per this. And union has the duty to protect, means ensure that state level business is also carried out as per provisions of the constitution. Right. Basically, let's say that these are all coercive powers. Right. These are all coercive powers given due to quasi-federal nature. Right. With an intention to maintain unity and integrity of the country. This. Because framers of the constitution had fear, partition time, lots of things they experienced. Hence, they had that in mind. To maintain unity and integrity of the country, they need to give some special powers to union so that we do not face such kind of challenges. This. So that is how union has to ensure. Now again there is vagueness, let's say. Vagueness is that business of the states is carried out in accordance with provisions of the constitution. Isn't it? It depends how you interpret. Can we say states are working as per provisions of the constitution? Often you will find that ruling party and other party. If central government is of a different party, state is of a different party. The center often thinks that a different party ruled state has always lack of provisions of constitution. It is not working as per provisions of the constitution. But in their own ruled party state, they will not consider it. You know that two persons were handcuffed and they were being carried, and on the way they are shot in Uttar Pradesh. It is a serious breach of rule of law. But it does not matter. This you should know that. It does not matter, let's say that. अगर दूसरा स्टेट होता यही, right, दूसरा रूल्ड स्टेट होता, दूसरे पार्टी का, और वो दोनों लोग किसी और let's say that की रिलीजन से होते, फिर आप देखते, what people will talk. This, but they were themselves criminals, so that is how public voice is also. ठीक है, चलेगा, अच्छी बात. Isn't it? So that is how we find this. Similarly, encounters happen. Right? We know that we'll talk this. This is how it is considered vague. And vague means what are the grounds, let's say. So since there is vagueness, president's rule has been imposed on several grounds. Those grounds are not necessarily grounds to impose president's rule. So till a time, let's say, basically is SR Bommai case to 1994. Know that. Court also did not interfere because satisfaction cannot be questioned by court. They thought that it is not their area. But SR Bommai case changed that. So that is another important case. So let's write on this further. although Article 356 is related to addressing any such challenge related to unity and integrity, stability and order, that union was given coercive powers. To invoke President's rule. However, due to vagueness in the provisions, it is more known for misuse. Rather than its use. Hence, it has become highly controversial. And one of the most important source of conflicts between union-state relations. The process and effects. Basics. These are basics, isn't it? वो भी जान लेते क्या है process. The Council of Ministers gives advice. The Council of Ministers gives advice to President for invoking President's rule. Next, it needs approval by Parliament within 2 months. Effects. First, its most important effect is related to state government. That first, Council of Ministers is dissolved. Next, legislature is either kept in suspended animation. Or is dissolved. Suspended animation. Animation मतलब वो animation नहीं होता है, ये lamination होता है. So this is a political language, right? Suspended animation means it is kept suspended or it is dissolved. Next, it has no effects on fundamental rights. Next, Union Parliament assume concurrent powers. Union Parliament assumes concurrent powers on a state subject, and can make law, including passing budget for the state, Note, NOTE note, 51,000 note. In case of President's rule, grounds are not clearly defined. For its imposition, due to which it has been misused. Next, now use and misuse of President's rule. Use and misuse of President's rule. Since independence, it has been used and misused. And has become controversial. In general, President's rule is imposed when there is political vacuum. At a state level, like first, after elections, if no party gets clear majority, that's when government loses its confidence. Or there is fall of government. Next, when there is extreme level of disturbance in the state, that demands central government intervention. Extreme level of disturbance in the state that demands central government intervention. However, it has been found that President's rule has been imposed on the grounds like loss of mandate, that when Janata government came to power, it imposed President's rule in over 9 states, and when Indira Gandhi came back, in over 11 states, President's rules were imposed. So already we have told that since Janata government, it says that since you have lost election at national level, you don't have mandate to govern at state level. Same thing she did when she came back. Then she, let's say that imposed on the same ground, since you have lost election at national level, you have lost mandate at the state level. You can see this. Next, on the ground of law and, that's it. On the grounds of law and order. Next point. On the ground of law and order. Next. Communal riots. Corruption. Corruption. Like Devilal government was dismissed on the grounds of corruption. Devilal government was dismissed on the grounds of corruption. Corruption. During 1990s, President's rule were imposed. President's rule were imposed. In all those states, all those non-Congress ruled states, where communal riots broke out in the aftermath of demolition of Babri Masjid. In recent times, President's rule were imposed, like in Maharashtra, Arunachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Bihar. The statistics related to President's rule. Are as follows. 6 times. $70 times. We'll come to that. So you can see that how grounds if you find this. So as we have told that even if government is elected, but elected government has been dismissed. All facts we cannot tell, but there are instances where elected government is dismissed in Haryana also, in Rajasthan also. This and communal riots, let's say, broke out in all states. Congress ruled states also in the aftermath of demolition of Babri Masjid, but president's rule were imposed only in non-Congress ruled states, like say Karnataka, this Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, which came to be first time challenged. SR Bommai case that we'll talk. Most recent times that we have written, that story also will tell you that on which grounds, let's say, that they impose president's rule. Even corruption has become the ground, law and order has become the ground. And this is how misuse you will find. So these facts keep changing, but we have misuse 48 times it has been misused. Even if it has been misused 48 times, that is less, means it has been used most of the time. But why even 48 times? It's very huge. This. And that also you will say that the president's rule largely highest during 60 and 80 time, let's say that time. Thereafter things have, basically SR Bommai case, etc. have changed because now there are safeguards. But still, let's say that misuse has not stopped. This misuse has reduced, but it has not stopped. Means since 1994, we have 29, let's say that. We have 29 times president's rule. It shows that there is reduction, but misuse has not stopped. This why it has not, etc. We'll talk on this aspect. Let's try that. Due to misuse of president's rule. Due to misuse of president's rule. President's rule. It has become a matter of consideration by reform commissions. Matter of consideration by reform commissions. Reform commissions. And also by Supreme Court. Supreme Court. They have introduced safeguards. They have introduced safeguards. So let's write safeguards. Safeguards. First, Sarkaria Commission gave following recommendations. Sarkaria Commission gave following recommendations. First, president rule should not be imposed at first place. President's rule should not be imposed at first place. Rather, other alternatives should be tried. Other alternatives should be tried. Next, it should not be imposed unless it is approved by Parliament. It should not be imposed unless it is approved by Parliament. Approved by Parliament. Next. Law and order should not be a ground for imposition of President's rule. Law and order should not be a ground for imposition of President's rule. Imposition of President's rule. Next, Legislative Assembly should not be suspended at first place. Legislative Assembly should not be dissolved. Should not be dissolved at first place. At first place, rather, it should be kept under suspended animation. Rather, it should be kept under suspended animation. Suspended animation. Even after recommendations of Secretariat Commission, governments have not adhered to the above recommendations. Governments have not adhered to the above recommendations. Next, S.R. Bommai case, 1994. S.R. Bommai case, 1994. For the first time, President's rule were challenged. For the first time, President's rules were challenged. Rules were challenged in high courts. Like Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, etc. All these cases were clubbed, which came to be known as S.R. Bommai case, heard by Supreme Court that gave another landmark judgment. That first, President's satisfaction was subject to judicial review. President's satisfaction was subject to judicial review. Next, the court can declare President's rule unconstitutional. The court can declare President's rule unconstitutional if it is based on mala fide intention. If it is based on mala fide intention. Mala fide intention. The court can reinstate a dismissed government. The court can reinstate a dismissed government. Reinstate a dismissed government. Next, it reiterated also the guidelines of Secretariat Commission. Reiterated the guidelines of Secretariat Commission. Secretariat Commission. Let's say after Secretariat Commission judgment, change in paragraph, after Secretariat Commission judgment, after S.R. Bommai judgment, there is reduction in President's rule. That over 29 times President's rule imposed. Over 29 times President's rules have been imposed. However, the misuse has not stopped. The misuse has not stopped. Misuse has not stopped. Subheading. The last three presidents' rule declared unconstitutional. The last three presidents' rule declared unconstitutional. Unconstitutional are as follows. The last three presidents' rule declared unconstitutional are as follows. First, Bihar case 2005. After elections, no party secured clear majority. After elections, no party secured clear majority. Nor governor invited any party. Nor governor invited any party. क्या जरूरत है? And president rule was imposed. It was challenged in court. It was challenged in court. The Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional. The Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional and indicted governor. Indicted governor. डांट लगाया और क्या करेगा? डांट ही सकता है, isn't it? So basically, Bhutta Singh was governor. APJ Abdul Kalam was president. Right. Supreme Court in past, they have given in some cases judgment that whenever you have to test whether any party enjoys majority or not, the floor of the house is the only place to decide. Right. So governor was asked that why you did not invite. He said that on his own calculation he came to know that no party enjoyed clear majority. फिर कोर्ट ने बोला who are you to decide. कितने बार हम लोगों ने बोला है, सुनाई नहीं दिया. Right. So that was the ground. Courts have told time and again that you should decide only when on the floor of the house. Let the political process decide, not you. This is how. You are merely an indicator, not a decision maker. So, political process is you invite a party to form government, let the process decide. If that party will have majority, it will prove. It does not have, then you can recommend for president's rule. You cannot be a decision maker. And that was the ground that president rule was declared unconstitutional. This, which is also known as Rameshwar Prasad case, basically, which we'll talk when we will take governor topic. This we'll talk again this. Then comes Arunachal Pradesh, 2015. This Arunachal Pradesh, let's. The governor intervened. The governor intervened due to political developments in which there was allegation against chief minister of corruption, and also said to have lost majority due to split in party. Hence, president's rule was imposed. President's rule was imposed on the recommendations of governor. Recommendations of governor. The court again found role of governor arbitrary. The court again found role of governor arbitrary and declared it unconstitutional. Declared it unconstitutional. So, political developments were, let's say, so many. Basically, what happens. It was basically, let's speak, a Congress favored government or Congress ruled government, it can be. Right. Arabia something, let's say, name was that. Arabia government, it is the case is also known by this. So, there was charge of corruption, there was a split. Meanwhile, let's say that these processes were going on. Meanwhile, let's say the session of the assembly was scheduled. It was scheduled in January, let's say that, January. But governor, without advice of Council of Ministers, advanced the schedule of session of the assembly in December, which was arbitrary. Why governor advanced it? To prove majority or political development or corruption. This is how he tried to defend in the court. But again, let's say when government has lost its majority, the floor will decide, rather than you yourself decide and you advance the assembly session. Right. If assembly session is scheduled in January, then let the assemblies happen as per the schedule, and that time let the government prove its majority. This, but it was not done. Governor himself advanced the session of the assembly, although it is done by president on the advice of Council of Ministers. This was one aspect. Other interesting things were basically, you know that कि assembly में ताला लगा दिया. Do you know this? Right. Assembly में ताला लगा दिया. This opposition वाले, ताकि गवर्नमेंट का कोई सेशन नहीं होगा. और उन्होंने सेशन होटल में हेल्ड किया. The split members and opposition party members, they held session in a hotel. This assembly was locked. This is how it happens. Right. Let's write this Uttarakhand. The government was asked to prove majority. The government was asked to prove its majority. Prove its majority. But just one day ahead of the date to prove majority. The date to prove majority. The government was dismissed. The government was dismissed and president's rule was imposed. It was challenged in Uttarakhand High Court. Challenge in Uttarakhand High Court. The court declared it unconstitutional. The court declared it unconstitutional. And asked the dismissed government to prove its majority, which it did. Hence, for the first time in parliamentary history, a dismissed government was reinstated. A dismissed government was reinstated. reinstated. ऐसे क्या जा रहा है एक दिन में, क्या हो जाएगा? Clear political brickmanship. This you can see that. 16, 15, 16 दोनों आप लिख सकते हो, दोनों के बीच में हुआ था. So कहीं 15 मिलेगा, कहीं 16 मिलेगा. Right. Same thing related to this 15, 16 Arunachal Pradesh. First time it happened, and you know who was Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court? Right. K.M. Joseph. नाम याद रखो, काम आएगा. K.M. Joseph was Chief Justice of Uttarakhand High Court. आगे क्या काम आएगा बाद में बताएंगे.